What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize. Right off the top, if you want to follow me, you can do so at CEO Haize. That's CEO Haize. And on today's episode, we'll be talking about the Bulls being given an offseason grade of a D by Bleacher Report. We'll be breaking that down. We'll also be talking about Coby White trades that were presented as well by Bleacher Report. And I'll be telling you guys why Coby White is more than likely not going to be traded in this season. We'll also be getting to teams that are going to be paying the luxury tax this season and what that may mean and how the Bulls shape up against that. And then lastly, we'll be doing our season predictions this time for that player that everybody wants to see gone in Coby White. We'll get into all that and more on today's Chicago Bulls Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So right off the top, the Bulls were given an offseason grade of D by Brian Kalbrowski with Bleacher Report. And in this, he mainly talks about the fact of the Bulls adding Andre Drummond, adding Goran Dragic, and that while neither one of those signings are anything to write home about, he is very high on the Bulls' selection of Dalen Terry in the draft. But this is something it's been going, right? We know that most Bulls fans, most people outside, all are wondering why the Bulls did not do more in the offseason. Now, I've talked about this very heavily, not to excuse it, but to identify it, is the simple fact that, yes, the Bulls had a $10 million mid-level exception this season that would have hard capped them, and they decided not to use all of it. Because of that, they went out, they signed Andre Drummond to a really decent contract, they signed Goran Dragic to a really decent contract, and I can understand why, to me, the Bulls get a bad offseason grade by most stretches. Now, Dalen Terry, he seems like he's going to be a stud. Now, he's going to be something that I've already said, let's practice patience when it comes to Dalen Terry, because he may not be his final form. He's not going to be his final form in this first season. He may not even contribute very much statistically wise to the Chicago Bulls this season in his rookie season, but we'll see. But, with this being said, it really, to me, this is me personally, and I said this over on Locked On Bulls, I can't give the Bulls lower than a C- for the offseason grade personally, just because they didn't get worse, right? And I know there's something to be said of, well, if other teams are getting better, you're not getting better, then you technically do get worse by that, and I understand that mindset. But to me, I'm looking at it, yes, the Patrick Williams is probably going to take a leap this season. Let's see how much of a leap that is. I do look at Ayo Dosunmu, the work that he's putting in as well, and health being big reasons on why the Bulls, even with them staying kind of stagnant, not really getting worse per se. Now, again, it remains to be seen. We have to see that put into practice. We have to see how that happens on the court. But I do trust, looking at the work Patrick Williams put in, the fact that, he's having a full offseason this offseason, things like that, I do think Patrick Williams and Ayo Dosunmu are going to come in being ready to contribute a little bit more. Also, Marko Simonovic, and how he comes in and how he's able to play this season, hopefully, and give the Bulls a little bit something more than what he gave them last season, which was a big goose egg of a 0 in his minutes with the Chicago Bulls last season, him being better equipped, maybe in a better position to have a bigger role with the Chicago Bulls than what he had last season as well. I look at those things, and then as well as Andre Drummond. I look at Andre Drummond, he's going to be a better backup center than I think either Tristan Thompson or Tony Bradley were at any stretch last season. So, yeah, while the Bulls didn't come home and didn't hit the home run offseason that a lot of us hoped and thought that they would do this offseason, again, kicking that can down the road to next offseason where they could have $20 million in true cap space next year and an exception as well. That's when you want to look at making a bigger move. But again, this offseason is this offseason. And for the moves themselves, I can understand a lower grade because the Bulls really didn't do much when you look at just the pure moves. Now, the Dalen Terry pick, that has the potential, and that's not going to be anything that we see the full dividends of anytime soon, and that's with most draft picks. But I really do like the pick of Dalen Terry. Let me know. I think we've already did it. I've asked you guys what grade did you give the Bulls offseason, and it kind of is what it is on that one. But, national media, it's going to, just like we had a lot of doubt last season, right, with DeMar DeRozan, most overrated offseason acquisition, things like that. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We're going to get a lot of that until we prove it on the court. And hopefully we do have a more healthy team. Knock on wood for Lonzo Ball. And then we can really evaluate this team and what they have coming into next year. And I don't expect Goran Dragic to play a lot. I know we had that 20 to 25 minute thing. I just don't expect it if everyone's healthy, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, going into the next topic for today, there are 9 teams that are $10 million over the luxury tax heading into next season. That is the Clippers being $41 million over the luxury tax, the Warriors being $36.5 million over the luxury tax, the Nets $31 million, Bucks $23 million, Celtics $20 million, Suns $16.2 million, Lakers $16.1, Mavericks $14.6, and the Nuggets $10.5 million over the luxury tax. Now that's this team's $10 million over the luxury tax and more. There are more teams that are over the luxury tax to a smaller degree. But it now has been said that, like, looking at those teams, right, you would say that all of those teams, except the Lakers, are teams that you expect to have deep playoff runs. We'll see what happens with the Nets as well, what happens with their chemistry and things like that, keeping Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, after, it for a little while looked like both of them may be gone. But what does that mean towards, with what the Bulls are looking towards as they continue to build out this team? Yes, we have Nikola Vucevic's contract coming off the books theoretically next season, DeMar DeRozan the season after that. So there is an opportunity for the Bulls to continue to be not as over the luxury tax, but that luxury tax bill is coming for the Chicago Bulls unless they do some hard, drastic type trades to really get salary. And then at this point, if the Bulls do some really salary cutting type moves while this team is not looked at as being a true contender, the fan base will riot. But that continues to raise the question over, how much longer can the Bulls theoretically avoid the luxury tax? I've said it before. I don't think that they can for much longer. I think next offseason, the Bulls have to go into luxury tax. When you look at extending Ayo Dosunmu, using the cap space that's available that way, if you do decide to even bring back Vooch on an extension, anything like that, Coby White, we don't expect Coby White to be back on extension unless he plays really well this season. Then I would love to see Coby White come back. But with all that being said, listen, it remains to be seen. You don't want to be the Lakers on this list, right? You don't want to be a team $16 million over the luxury tax and not really competing, not looked at as having a chance while you do have some talent on that roster. You don't want to be that. But you, again, don't want to be out of the conversation just by avoidance of the luxury tax. And that's going to be something that Bulls fans and fans in general are way more aware now of the luxury tax. Now, not everyone has a full understanding because there is a difference between being over the cap and over the luxury tax. But with that being said, fans are more astute now. So as Bulls fans continue to see this team maybe not compete at the level that we want to, not taking advantage of having Zach LaVine in his prime, not taking advantage of having players like DeMar DeRozan and things like that around, Lonzo Ball as well. Like, as you look for this Bulls team to continue to improve and this fan base to want this team to continue to go further and further and be more of a true contender, you can only avoid the luxury tax for so long. Now, if the Bulls are able, if Dalen Terry hits, Patrick Williams hits, Ayo Dosunmu hits, and all of these players progress and take leaps around the same times or years after each other, then the Bulls may be able to avoid that. But again, can you bet on that, right? This team is going to have to go into the luxury tax at some point in time, and I think that time is going to have to be next season. If not, and you continue to kick that can down the road, I've already said it, it's going to be dark times here around Bulls Nation. But I think that was just an interesting thing to look at teams that were that far over the luxury tax and where they stand. The Clippers, we know when they're fully healthy, they can definitely contend. The Warriors, they're the defending NBA champions. We know about them. They've been in so many finals over the last decade. The Nets, the Nets win fully healthy as well. You look at as a team that can do that. It's just, what else is going on besides basketball. The Bucks won the title a couple years ago. The Suns, we know what they can be, and we've seen it. Like, yeah, they're a team that can make it finals, but can they win it? The Lakers are a shit show. The Mavericks are a team that's on the rise as well, and the Nuggets, they have a 2-time reigning MVP. So, you see those type of things. It does raise some questions. We'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and get into the main topic that we're talking about. A lot of this is built around Coby White. So we're going to get into season predictions for Coby White. But first off, I do want to talk about some of these trade ideas that were presented by Bleacher Report for Coby White. And so I don't like a lot of these. We talked about them on Locked On Bulls as well. So I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time here on this one. The first one is with the Dallas Mavericks. Coby White, the Bulls trade Coby White for Josh Green and 2 second-round picks. While we've seen AK and Eversley do great things with second-round picks and AK over the course of his career, Josh Green, to me, I like Josh Green as a player, but this trade I don't like. If anything, if we do a trade with the Mavericks, I need Maxi Kleber to come back in it, right? That's just my selfishness in that. But I look at this one, it's a non-starter for me. Again, if this is one of those deals where it's like, if you just feel like you have to trade Coby White because you don't want to get into a contract situation with him next season or not lose him for anything, this is the type of trade that I would see. If the Bulls get to the trade deadline and Coby still isn't playing too well, or maybe he's playing a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, but they don't think that they're going to be able to afford it, they don't want to pay Coby White what he could get in the open market, you trade him, you do this type of deal, then you get Josh Green, who's a solid prospect, still fairly young as well, can be a versatile player as far as the positions that you can play him in. But those 2 second-round picks are the biggest thing in that. And even then, like I said, that's more of a, hey, we know we can't re-sign him. Let's just get something back for him. This next one, and this is the one that I know that it kind of confuses me for people who are for this one. The next one of the Bulls trading Coby White and Tony Bradley, which I'm not mad at getting rid of Tony Bradley, for Terrence Ross and 1 second-round pick. Now, the thing with this is, and I said this over on Locked on Bulls, is that if you look at Terrence Ross's career averages, they're what Coby White gave you last season. And this is why I say things with Coby White, and we'll get into that when I talk about some of his predictions for a season next season. But Coby White is not as terrible as some people make him out to be. Right? There are a lot of bench players that get considerable minutes and get paid way more that are giving way less than what Coby White was able to give last season. Terrence Ross's career averages are exactly what Coby White. So all we're saying at that point is we're trading a 22-year-old Coby White for a 31-year-old Coby White. That's all you're doing in a trade like this. You're not getting a markedly better player. Yeah, you're getting a player who's been in the NBA longer, who's had some bigger games, and you can probably say is a little bit more consistent. But again, and Terrence Ross's last season is not like they shy in comparison to the averages that Coby White put up last season. This is why I say a Coby White deal is not as easy as some Bulls fans make it out to be, because listen, Terrence Ross is not better than Coby White. I'm saying it right now. He's not a better player than Coby White, at least not what he's shown in the last few seasons of his career. And like I said, looking at Coby's career averages and looking at Terrence Ross's career averages, they're right there neck and neck. But Coby White is 9 years younger, right? And so, for that, I don't like this deal at all for that one. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. And just to get into the details of it, like, Terrence Ross shot a terrible percentage from 3 last season. He did shoot about 40% from field goal range overall, but Coby White did that as well. So it's not really much difference. If you look at Coby White's career numbers and then go and look at Terrence Ross's career numbers, they are basically the same, if not better, leaning in favor of Coby White. So this is why I say, yeah, we, as all fan bases, we have a propensity to either undervalue or overvalue our own players in a lot of ways, and we lose objectivity, right? In a trade like this for Terrence Ross, the Bulls are not getting a clear better player at all. It's just not happening. So because of that, to me, this trade is a non-starter. Again, yes, you get the second round pick. Yes, you also free up a roster spot by getting rid of Tony Bradley, that can clear in Justin Lewis playing more for this team, things like that. But you don't get a markedly better player. And I'm going to go ahead. I said look it up. I'm going to give the numbers to you. That way you don't have to go to another place for the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. So Terrence Ross last season, right? We're just going to go off last season and then I'll give his career averages. Last season, 23 minutes a game, or 39% shooting from the field, 29% shooting from from 3-point range, 86% 3-point shooter, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, almost 2 assists per game at 10 points per game. Terrence Ross's career averages, right? Career averages. He averages about 24 minutes a game, 41% shooting from field goal percentage, 36% shooting from 3, 83% from free throw, 2.8 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists per game, 11.2 points per game for Terrence Ross's career. Now let's look at Coby White's numbers in that same time. Last season for Coby White, 27 minutes played per game, 43% shooting from field, 38% shooting from 3-point range, both career highs for him, 85% shooting from free throw, 3 rebounds, 3 assists per game, and 12.7 points per game. Coby White's career averages 28 minutes per game, 41% from the field, 36% shooting from 3, 85% from free throw, 3.6 rebounds per game, and 3.5 assists per game at 13.7 points per game for Coby White's career. Like I said, Terrence Ross now is not a better player than Coby White. Now, he did have a big season a couple of years ago, 15.6 points per game, 14.7 points per game, and 15.1 his last 3 seasons before last season. Maybe he lost motivation in Orlando, and I can see an argument for that. But to me, you're not getting a markedly better player for Coby White. And, it kind of is what it is at that point. Last trade, this is the best one in the bunch. The Bulls trade Coby White and Marko Simonovic to the San Antonio Spurs for Josh Richardson. Now, Josh Richardson is a player. He's a better defensive player. He's a solid three-point shooter. He has better averages shooting from three than Coby. He's a better field goal shooting overall. He's a more versatile player, a more intense defensive player. I would love having Josh Richardson off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. My only issue in this trade is us giving up Marko Simonovic at a time where we haven't really seen yet what he can do. He has not played at an NBA level yet. I'm not keen on giving up Marko at this point in his career, considering how young he is and the fact that we just haven't seen what he can do on the NBA level yet. Now, there is an argument to be made to say, well, he may not be good on the NBA level. Let's give him up while he still has some value before people do get to see him on the NBA level. But Marko is the type of player that will go to the Spurs, they'll work him, they'll develop him, and then he'll be a 19-10 guy. We don't want to do that, in my opinion, this early on. And while Josh Richardson is a better player than Coby White, make no mistakes about that, I don't want to give up a young player in Marko that we haven't seen yet. We have seen Coby. We know he's inconsistent. We haven't got a chance to really see Marko at the NBA level yet. So in my opinion, I wouldn't want to give up this trade. But if I was going to do any trade out of this bunch, that would be the one. But now let's get into season predictions for Coby White. Alec Coby White, I think is his full name. Coby Alec White. It's one of those. Don't know off the top of my head. But nonetheless, Coby White. It's Alec Coby White. Boom, I knew it. But Coby White, season predictions for Coby White. I've been doing season predictions in the show and this all week long so far. And I've already went over Coby White's averages last year, 12.7 points per game, 3 rebounds per game, about 3 assists per game on a 12.6 PER. He did shoot the ball 49% from field goal percentage, 34% from three-point percentage. And so you want to see Coby White improving that. His defensive rating was 116.9, 114.6 for his career. We know Coby White is not a good defender. We know this. This is the weakest part of his game. Now, in this with Coby White, there's, like I've already said it, there's a lot of talk around Coby White, and I don't think a Coby White trade is coming anytime soon, if at all. I honestly think this thing is going to play itself out, and I know some people, well, Coby White can come in, play good. If Coby White plays good, to start the season, and that's where I think the Bulls are with this, right, with Coby, is that if Coby White comes out being consistent, playing well, getting good averages, but giving you those averages consistently night in and night out, at that point, trading Coby White becomes harder, in my opinion, because guess what? There are not a lot of bench players. As much as we talk about Coby White, his averages for a bench player are solid. It's just that we don't have that consistently from him, right? He has the games where he'll give us 20 points off the bench, and they'll give us a goose egg the next game. So because of that, if Coby can become a consistent player for the Chicago Bulls next season, I think it's going to be even more difficult to move him, because at that point, you're not going to get any type of value back for him because of what he's worth. A consistent Coby White coming off the bench can be one of the best bench players in the NBA. He can be a perennial six-man of the year type player if he's giving you things consistently. I talked about it last year, 2-3 years out the season, 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 months out the season. Coby White was giving you 16 points per game off the bench, average-wise, with 40% shooting from the field and three-point percentage. That is a solid bench player in the NBA. So really looking at it, the Bulls are in a really weird situation with Coby White, where I'm not saying he's untradeable by any case of the imagination, like any stretch of the imagination. Not saying that at all. Coby White is absolutely tradable. But as we've seen with Coby, and we've even heard it in the rumors, the Bulls are not getting what they think that they should for Coby White. And we may see this play out to where if Coby White does have a solid season, the Bulls may go ahead and re-sign him and then try to move him later. We've seen that a lot. Look at the situation that happened with Mo Bamba this offseason. I'm not saying the Bulls will go to the extent of renouncing his rights and then go ahead and re-sign him anyway. I'm not saying that it's going to get to that point with Coby White, but I'm absolutely saying that there could be a way, there is a future of this where Coby White is a Chicago Bull for a while. All of this season for sure, and then see how it plays out next season. It may get to the point where they do like similar to what they did to Marko. It ends up turning into a sign and trade. They allow another team to sign him. They don't re-sign him, and they play it out that way in the offseason. But don't be surprised if Coby White is a Chicago Bull this whole season. So when we talk about predictions for Coby White, I do think Coby White is going to be a Chicago Bull this whole season. I may be wrong with that. But as of right now, with the way things are shaking out, I do think that. And I know that's not what a lot of Bulls fans are hoping or thinking is going to happen or want to see, but there's a big possibility of that. What then do I want to see from Coby White? What do I want to see from Coby White if he's going to be in this Bulls uniform all season? We know he's going to start off the season with the Chicago Bulls. And the simple thing is I want and need to see consistency from Coby White, whether that's giving us 12 points per game consistently off the bench, whether it's giving us the 16 points per game consistently off the bench. I don't want to see any more games, and it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen where at times Coby just can't hit the left side of a barn, but I don't want to see that consistently. Like, let that be a rarity with Coby. I want to see Coby White with his first full, keep in mind, Coby White's first full training camp as an NBA player is this year in his 4th season. Only 22 years old, turns 23 in February. As much as you talk about Ayo can develop, Patrick Williams can develop, Coby White still has plenty of room to develop. I want to see Coby White become more consistent. I want to see Coby White have a clear and defined role as well. When you add Goran Dragic, when you have as many guards as we do, there's no more reason for Coby White not to have a clear and defined role, coming in, being that 2 guard off the bench, being the scorer off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. I want to see that for him. I want to see the coaching staff put him in better situations, not forcing him to be a spot-up shooter sometimes, and allow him to be that scorer he can be off the bench for the Chicago Bulls. That's what I want to see from Coby White, and I want to see him better engaged defensively. I talked about Zach LaVine, how I want to see him get to more of that 110 area of a defensive rating. I'm not going to say that for Coby. That is a huge leap for a player that's going to be coming off the bench. But being 116 last season, I need to see Coby White get that defensive rating down to 112. The 112 area for Coby White, that's what I want to see from Coby White. But the biggest thing is consistency from Coby. I want to see that consistency from Coby White being that big scorer off the bench for the Chicago Bulls, and I think he can do it. It's just a matter of fact of him putting it into practice. And I know this is not what a lot of Bulls fans want to hear. A lot of Bulls fans want Coby to be gone regardless of how he plays. I'm not going to be that blind with it. I'm going to say if Coby White can turn into a consistent player off the bench for the Chicago Bulls, I want to see him stay here. I want to see him be able to do that this season, and we'll work it out next season, whatever happens. But either way, no matter what, the best situation for the Bulls, whether if they're going to trade him or keep him, is for Coby White to be consistent and be better than he was last season. So that's what I'm hoping for Coby White. I want to see averages of 13 points off the bench, give us those 2 rebounds a game. I want to see his assists get up to about 3.5 a game for him as well, because he's going to have better players around him. Field goal percentages, keep all that the same. Keep the 49 field goal percentage. Keep the 40%, almost 40% shooting from 3. Keep those things the same, but I want to see it done at a more consistent level for Coby White. That's what I want to see from Coby. Let me know down below, what are some of your predictions for Coby White coming into next season? And hey, do you think that there's a world in which Coby White continues to be a Chicago Bull for a long time? Let me know all that down below. Thank you for tuning in to Chicago Bulls Central. You guys know I love you so much, man. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave us a text and our voicemail, the number to do so is 773-270-2799. This is the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.